America, Mr.
Who?
Donald J. Trump, Sir, Esquire, Doctor. How are you, Mr. President, sir?
I was doing very strongly until you opened your mouth and said the F word. As you know, we don't use the F word on this podcast, okay? As far as Mar-a-Lago law, under Mar-a-Lago law and podcast law, I am current, future, former, and all present all time. So if you use the F word again, I'm going to use a different F word against you,
What
and
F
you'll
word?
be bye-bye.
What F word?
One that sometimes I call Big Gay Mike Pence.
Okay. Fruitcake?
Well, there you go. Fruitcake. Strong Christian. Because when you bring a fruitcake to a thing, you never nobody likes a fruitcake.
Yuck. Mr. President, how excited you were last week when Big Huck came on?
Well, I think you know that, I don't know if you were listening to last week's podcast, but we had a rude, she called the other tech stuff guy Rudy, which I thought showed her great sense of humor. Nobody realizes how funny Big Huck is. But now very excited because we often have guests that I'm not a big fan of. And yet I'm the biggest fan of Big Huck. And actually, she wanted me, two of our guests, we're doing, nobody ever even heard of these people until I brought them on the podcast. And now they're like superstars. But Sarah Big Huck Sanders is now on Cameo. And we'd love it if the people of the show, you see that? You see the start, she comes on the show and all of a sudden Cameo's like, ma'am, they call her ma'am, they call me sir at Cameo.
Of course.
And they said, ma'am, we have to have you doing strong messages for the people. So you can find Big Huck, Sarah Big Huck Sanders on Cameo. She can do Valentine's messages. She can do all sorts of things. You see how she picks me up. She could do that for our listeners, okay? And she's not nearly as expensive as I am, because of understand. We have great respect, but like she's not even close to me. And then also remember, what was his name? Our great Brian Robertson or something like that. Richardson.
Brian Richardson.
Brian Richardson, who everybody, Big Huck was the guest of the year in 2020. Okay, that's an honor that they can't take away. She was the first Epi winner. Well, right now, I think as much as I love Huck, the fans seem to think that the Brian Richardson, our great Capitol protester, is the early frontrunner for Guest of the Year 2021. He's also on Cameo at Ian Fidance. He doesn't want people to know his real identity. So you can find both of them on Cameo for strong messages. And if you get a message from them, okay, for yourself, for a loved one, for somebody that you hate, for a non-patriot that you want to taunt, be sure you write MPGA sent us when you get the message so that they know they didn't do it on their own. We want them to know that it's our strong podcast. So go to Cameo and you'll get powerful messages from friends of the show, as they call themselves.
Well, that's very nice of you, Mr. President. I was wondering, since you're no longer in the real White House and in the Mar-a-Lago house, what have you been up to since no real responsibilities these days?
That's where you're wrong. Obviously, I'm somebody with tremendous responsibilities. We're looking into launching an Ivanka for the Senate campaign in 2022 against Little Marco in Florida. So I'm excited about that.
What happened to the website with Ivanka? Didn't you say you were going to be launching that website with Ivanka when everything was
Netflix?
Yes.
Well, if she runs for the Senate, we have to delay that, obviously, but imagine how much stronger the website will do if she's a senator. Nobody's ever seen a senator, especially the hottest senator in the history of the Senate, do hardcore porn. You realize what do you know how much the porn industry would charge for Ivanka's first anal on screen as a senator? They've never seen numbers. You don't even know. The porn industry doesn't even know what they would charge for that because it's it's like something they never even thought could happen.
Well, I'm excited if you do decide to launch the website. I think it would definitely be lucrative, and I think there should be like a
Conservative, faith-based, hardcore pornography.
conservative faith based hardcore porn.
Pornography. We use the, we don't shorten it. We show respect.
Okay. Well, I think there should be a button on the website where you can donate to her campaign.
Oh, that's great. No, like like some of the websites, they'll be like, "Do you want to tip me? Did you like this video?" And all of a sudden, it can be like, "Do you want to donate to my campaign?" She
Mm-hmm.
could do. One of the fundraisers we're discussing is a Ivanka, very powerful webcam show.
What is the show going to be?
No, in other words, when she does something, that's well, to get that, you've got to make this donation to my super PAC.
So you want her to be like a webcam girl and perform for tips?
I mean, honestly, that's a lot more honest than what some people do for campaign donations. At least it's called a quid pro quo.
And it's in the open. People can't say she's doing anything shady. You can see it if you're going to pay.
If you pay the price, you get to see one of the great women of all time do great things for our country.
Uh, now, I have a question about. I'm sorry to be Debbie Downer here, but what are your feelings about the impeachment? How do you think this is going to play out?
You shortened it. You mean the impeachment hoax part two?
Impeachment hoax part two.
Okay. Well, we're gonna win because I have incredible power over the Republican Party. The Republican Party is, this, they're so scared of me. They're so intimidated because I'm big, I'm strong. My daughter is totally hot. So these are all things that they're very intimidated by.
I'm
So they're
big. I'm
not,
strong. My daughter's totally hot. I like that cheer.
well, it's, as the kids would say on social media, which I'm not on anymore, facts. And, it's, I know that they don't have the votes to convict. So what do I have to worry about?
If you were convicted, what would your actions be?
Well, it's not going to happen. You know it, and I know it. But I
Would you
think if,
say do the do?
oh, well, I mean, at this point, the only thing I don't have to say do the do for is if they convict, because then that triggers the automatic. Okay. That triggers the automatic revolution. Okay.
That's what it's
That's
called, the
called the
automatic
5 hour
revolution.
energy emergency.
The automatic revolution.
Yes. The 5 hour energy emergency is when they hear convicted, they take their 5 hour energy and possibly even a Red Bull, and then they will rush the Capitol like they've never seen before.
Now, I have a question about it is Black History Month. And I wanted to ask you, last year you gave us your top 5 blacks of 2020. Since we're in a new year, 2021, I was wondering if you would let everyone hear your list of
New
your top
year, new
5 blacks.
blacks,
Yep.
as they say.
Okay. New year, new blacks. I didn't know that was a saying, but it is now.
So you want to know the top 5 blacks of 2021?
Yep. If you can start at number 5, that would be awesome.
Sure. Uh, Number 5, of course, is Angry Hootie, Sheriff David Clark. Very tough guy. Almost fell off the list, by the way. Almost fell off
Mm.
the list, but he hung on. He hung on like the way he hangs on to a chokehold when he has an African American suspect. He held on. Number 4. Number 4 was and his name is escaping me, but the Attorney General of Kentucky, who refused to prosecute the killers of Rihanna Taylor, the
Breonna
singer.
Taylor,
Who?
Breonna
The
Taylor.
one that was dating Chris Brown.
No, not that one.
Okay, well, the other one, the other Rihanna. He didn't
It's
prosecute. He showed great law and order, and he's African American. So, he is a rising black on our list.
okay.
Okay, he gets like in the charts. He has like a white arrow pointing up, meaning this guy is coming for the top.
He is a 4, and then it was like the iTunes charts. Formerly, he was 7, and it shows he climbed a few
Formerly he
stops.
had the dash. He wasn't even. We didn't even hear about him until he did great work not prosecuting killers of Beyonce Taylor. So we got okay. That's a strong that's 5 and 4. That's how
Okay.
strongly we're doing.
Very strong.
Obviously, number 3, and he fell down a little bit, by the way, because I can tell you right now, Sleepy Ben Carson sleeped his way off the list. Okay, he walked right off the list,
I don't think he's sleeping.
and then so now he's off the list. Number 3 is Kanye West.
Wow, what was Kanye last year? Did he drop Kanye?
He was number 2.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So we had Kanye, and that's because with him getting divorced from Kim, that means we're not going to have strong meetings with Kim, right?
Meetings.
We're not going to have any more, oral exams for law school for Kim Kardashian. Get blacks to be free. So she's number 3.
Number 2 and number 1. I'm very curious. I want to see if
Number 2 was previously number 1. Ivanka in blackface.
Ivanka in blackface has been put down to number 2. Oh my gosh, I'm curious to hear who number 1 is, because that's crazy. I thought she had the permanent number 1 spot.
Well, you know what? It's pretty good for a white, beautiful woman in blackface. Even being on the chart is pretty. You got to remember she's outranking Kanye as a black, so it's impressive just even being on the list as high as she is. So, we have to respect that very strongly.
I think making the list without even being black should just be an honor in itself.
It is, and she held the number 1 spot. Right there, she held it tightly between her. She did her kegels and held it tightly.
It's impressive.
And I think if she wants it, she can get back on top, especially if she's, if she launches
in the top black charts. That's impressive.
If she can land the Netflix streaming service, she might just get on top by virtue of doing enough movies, if you know what I mean.
Okay, you won't even have to vote on it. It would just be known.
Probably.
Who's number 1? I'm very curious right now. You're leaving us at a cliffhanger.
Number 1, and it takes a true talent, a true hater of her own people, and also now a new mother, Candace Owens, number 1 Trump black of 2021.
Wow.
And she's a mother now. She's a mother to a baby boy, and she actually insists that police refer to her son as boy for the rest of his life. That's what she calls her son, boy. So when he becomes
not even make the list to being number 1.
Well, it takes a rare talent and a lot of self-hatred to enter the chart at number 1. That's almost unprecedented.
I find that to be absolutely amazing. That is
well, you know what?
Wild.
Guess what? There was only one person, black or white, that was really trashing George Floyd this year after he died.
That was Candace
And
Owens.
that was Candace Owens. And it takes a black, uh, she's so black, she has a black heart. And I think that was the tiebreaker because for her, she said, I'm not going to show any sympathy to George Floyd. Even when Republican senators and representatives are going, this is terrible, she stood up loud and proud and said, F that N word. And for that, even Ivanka in blackface, even
That's
with Ivanka with blacks coming on her face, couldn't beat Candace Owens. We can edit that in post. That was, I say that with fatherly respect.
was becoming on her face in blackface.
Well, if that happened, that might be the combo that could take down Candace Owens. But until that happens, until there is a black bukkake on Ivanka's blackface, Candace Owens looks to have the title very strongly. And I say that in a non-sexual way as a father.
Of course. So, Mr. President, speaking of betting, stock market, GameStop, did you get on the train early for GameStop and make your money?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that. Don Jr. posted a video earlier this week, last week after we talked. Don Jr. posted a video supporting the GameStop bros and announced that he was investing heavily in Suncoast Video.
Suncoast, did he really put that up? Suncoast, isn't Suncoast Video out of business? It's like the Blockbuster, the
Well,
cheap
think
blocks.
about it. GameStop was going out of business, and what would be a more daring bet than to bet heavy on a business that was out of business? Now, because when he was a kid, I wouldn't take Don Jr. to Blockbuster. I said, you're not worthy of Blockbuster. Okay, Ivanka gets to go to Blockbuster. Instead, I would take him to Suncoast and leave him for a few hours while I banged models. And I would tell him he could pick out one because Suncoast sold things. They had stuff for sale. It wasn't as much rental. So I'd say you can pick out one video and you can buy it when I come back. And usually he'd be there sitting in a corner crying because they were going to close the store on him. And I would say, okay, which one's this? And it would usually be some kind of cartoon. And I would say, you little pussy, no cartoons. You're not even a man. And he would have to leave without a video. So I think he wanted to invest in Suncoast the way some of the GameStop people did, to say, like, sir, I want to invest in something that meant a lot to me as a child. So I think Suncoast could come back, even though it doesn't exist anymore. I think maybe with the right investment, the stock could rise very strongly.
I don't think that is possible, but maybe. I remember I was a part of Suncoast and Blockbuster, because usually Blockbuster ran out of movies quick. Suncoast
Did you say N Blockbuster?
End Blockbuster.
Oh, End. I thought that's what I called the Blockbuster in the black neighborhood. I call it the N Blockbuster. I thought you were referring to that one.
No, but Suncoast had the new releases all the time when Blockbuster was sold out of them. So you gotta be a member of both. But no, not the End Blockbuster. I was said End Blockbuster. But nice try, Mr. President.
Wasn't a try. I think you had a Freudian racist slip.
I don't think so. I wanted to ask you about you're a fan of hers, a representative in Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Incredible talent, incredible political talent.
She is basically a conspiracy theorist.
Here's what I'm going to say, because we love our Patreon people. And I know we don't have to do the Patreon plug, but I think we have a lot of great fans and we have a lot of great Patreon fans. I put up a video. It was a 9-minute video where I played Fuck, Marry, Kill with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Kristi Noem, the South Dakota. We've talked about her. I said I wanted to mount her Rushmore. Kristi Noem is sort of the little trashy Sarah Palin with the gun. She's a real spinner. So I played Fuck, Marry, Kill on the video, and I think for people to hear, if they're fans of the show, if they go to the Perfect 10 level, they'll hear the whole video. And I think it's probably the greatest video I've ever put out, and a lot better than anything Sleepy Joe's done. But I'll leave it at this. I don't want to give too much away. But in the video, I kill Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she's so committed to the cause that she actually enjoys getting killed by her president. So I'm just saying that's a little preview of what we do in the video. But she's an incredibly patriotic. They call her the QAnon queen, and she hates immigrants, African Americans, Jewish people, books, learning.
She's the Jewish laser lady.
That's her. That's her. And we're
Mm.
looking very strongly into Jewish lasers.
Okay. Yeah, I think she's a little bit of a Looney Tune, Mr. President.
I tell you though, I almost find her hot. I don't think she's hot, but I think there's so much talent and so much extremism there that, in bed, Marjorie Taylor Greene probably tries to destroy your cock in bed. I'm just like, I think she is probably a very powerful talent in bed. I say that with respect.
I wanted to, so in this video, Perfect 10, Patreon Patriot, also Joe Biden N-word episode, over an hour long. That episode is also up on the Perfect 10. So
I don't even know why we have to convince these people.
it's
Our
patreon.com/MPGA.
Patreon, there's nobody. And when I say nobody, I mean nobody. And nobody giving the pay. I think these people, they're probably like, oh, Patreon, who needs? You should see what the other people out there for their podcasts do for Patreon. It's like, hey, give us $20. We'll give you an episode every 4 years. Okay. And we'll give you a shout out on the podcast once a millennium. Ours is like unbelievable amounts of content.
It's true.
So, and if you think we're like, oh, they're kind of non-PC on the podcast, on the Patreon content, we're really non-PC. I call them family traditions with the great Fred Trump. How about that?
Well, Mr. President, I'm sure you've heard about this, but your whole entire legal team has quit, and you have
A pathetic group of losers with no legal talent.
you've hired two new lawyers. One refused to prosecute Bill Cosby, I think the biggest serial rapist our country has ever seen.
Well, you see, I didn't do it, and I'm eating the Jello pudding pops. Oh.
Mr. President, I did not know you had a Cosby impression in you.
You know nothing about me. I put the medicine in the drink, and then the lady drinks it up, and then she goes, wow.
So someone's been practicing impressions since they left the White House, huh?
I've been watching some Cosby specials, not his stand-up specials, but just some of the sex tapes he made. And, the guy had a lot of talent. Come down to my basement. I'm a gynecologist who works out of the basement of his house. Ow.
So your legal team and the second lawyer thinks that Sir Jeffrey Epstein
Very good. I was
murdered.
I wanted to see if you were going to show the proper respect. Sir Jeff Epstein. No, one of my lawyers thinks he was murdered, and I think there's something to that. Although I did have a conversation with this attorney, and I said no. Actually, Bill Barr did not go to the prison that night to murder Jeff Epstein because he wasn't a sir at that point. He didn't murder him. He didn't go there. No, I know Bill Barr had duct tape and pills and a knife and rope when he went to the prison and paid off the guards to leave the prison. But I'm telling you, he didn't do it. Totally innocent. It was a total suicide, not a planned murder by Bill Barr at my behest.
Okay, I believe you. Now, this is some better news. The state of Ohio has been talking
Great Trump state.
Has been talking about an annual state holiday. I haven't heard of school be off, but an annual state holiday honoring you. What do you think the day should be called?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think it should be I think it should be on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday,
Okay.
and we call it Dr. Reverend Sir Mr. President Trump Esquire Day. And we celebrate great history, great pride, great American pride.
Okay.
And I think the day, the day should be called Trump Had a Better Dream Day.
I think honestly, I don't think I can write it any better than that. That is perfect.
Everybody gets a vanilla scoop of ice cream, and it's a beautiful thing. Every ice cream shop gives away one free scoop of vanilla.
On Trump had a better dream day. Is that what it's called?
I think that's a good day
Okay.
for Dr. Reverend Mr. President Trump, Sir Esquire, PhD.
I think that is a perfect call of the day. I think it's a
Because
perfect
he was
day.
only a Dr. Reverend, and as you could hear right there, I have so many more titles.
I know, and also I like how you chose a holiday that already exists, that is a national holiday that you were just going to take. I like that.
Exactly. It's that's he's had it long enough, and I think I can do a lot better with it.
I'm very excited to celebrate Trump. I have a better dream day. I'm very excited. So that's nice. They're doing an annual holiday for you. I have a few more, one more topic, and then we are going to get to questions. Before questions, everyone check out our website, mpgapod.com. You can check out our YouTube page. You can watch every episode now on our YouTube page, so you can see the Big Huck episode from last week on there, and all the videos cracking up, all the good stuff. Plus,
And be sure
t-shirts.
you subscribe there, even if you only watch it
Yes.
occasionally. Make sure you click, because we're right around 1,000 subscribers, and once we're at 1,000, they monetize it, and then I can steal a lot of money from YouTube.
There you go. And also, our t-shirts are on sale. We are designing a new one. They are $12 now, half off. So pick up a shirt, mpgapod.com.
And let us know if you would buy an Idaho Militia Christian Bible Text State T-shirt.
Yes. Please tweet at us or Instagram, or you can comment on the Patreon also. Mr. President, uh, dozens of former Bush officials have recently left the Republican Party, calling the Republican Party a Trump cult. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as soon as one of my supporters' wives finishes sucking my dick, I'll let you know if it's a cult.
So right when she's done, you'll let everyone know.
Well, then there's other wives whose husbands are willing to offer their wives to me as tribute. And once they're all done, once I'm totally finished with all the women of my supporters, then we'll decide if it's a cult.
That's fair enough. I think that is fair.
I don't really care what Bush people have to say. Okay, the Republican Party is the party of Trump. Is it a cult? I don't think it's a cult, but is it nice when people come to Mar-a-Lago and live in the basement and clean your house for free just for a chance to be near you and offer their hot daughters and wives as tribute? I think that's just sort of modern presidential. If you want to call that a cult, you can call it a cult. But yes, they donate money they barely have to me just to stay in my good graces. Is that a cult? No, I think it's just called patriotism.
Um,
Do they flog themselves with whips when I am displeased with them? Yes, but I don't know that that makes it a cult. I think that's just called personal responsibility.
I think it's a little culty, to be honest with you. I've been watching a documentary on cults, and that's kind of cult-like behavior.
Okay, Nancy's done. Get out of here. Go back to your husband. What were you saying? Tech stuff?
That was happening during this whole entire
You didn't even
podcast.
know. You didn't even know. When you're somebody, and I didn't even shower after golf
It
just
was
so
so,
she could
it was
prove
so,
her,
it was
so she
just
could
a,
prove her patriotic loyalty. Now, the point is,
it was
when
just a
you're
long
somebody like,
sigh and get out of here.
you know what? It's called leadership.
That's great leadership, Mr. President. Now, are you ready to hear some questions from the fans from this
Very
week?
powerfully ready. More ready than you, probably.
Okay. Um, Sir, Mr. President, Sir, Doctor, Sir, Doctor, Doctor, Esquire. This is from
Okay, I'm
C.
listening.
Caravan One. When you win re-election in 2024, what will be your first strong and powerful act? That is the first part of the question. Also, once you initiate the Trump Hunger Games, which one of your kids will you offer for a tribute? So it's a two-part question.
It's a great question. The first act, as many of you know who've been listening loyally, what we're supposed to do at my inauguration is to have the evangelical gimp, Mike Pence, sodomize Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Sleepy Joe Biden. And I guess we'll have to do that, but I don't trust the evangelical pimp. Okay, so my new excuse me, I said pimp. He's not a pimp, gimp. The new evangelical, and this is breaking news, by the way, so it's a great question. The new evangelical gimp replacing big gay Mike Pence, who is evangelical gimp emeritus, is Marjorie Taylor Greene with a
Wow.
strong strap on. She will. I'll just have to tell her, like, don't kill them. Just, just sodomize them and leave them bleeding and humiliated, but don't kill them. Don't go too far. We want to keep it in moderation. So that's what I would do at my inauguration. And as far as the Trump Hunger Games, the first kid I would offer for tribute, Don Jr.
Wow. Why?
I'm tired of him using my name and ruining it. And Eric knows not to challenge me. And Ivanka, I'm not giving Ivanka up to anybody.
That's fair. This comes from at Bobier Layla. Mr. President, sir, the king of all presidents. When will you
Okay,
divorce?
I am listening.
When will you divorce melatonin and marry a hot, young, sexy woman? Do you have any women in mind? Any picks? Thank you, sir, King, Mr. President, sir.
It's a great question, a strong question with great respect, so we have to answer it. We've already drafted divorce papers as well as reserved a spot in a shipping container to send Mesopotamia back to her country. So that's a done deal. All she has to do is sign her. I don't know if she can sign a name. She just has to put like a handprint on the document.
Okay.
And once she does that, we're looking very strongly at a lot of young talent.
Any
Tremendous young.
celebs? Any celebrities?
John Voight keeps telling me he wants me to bang his granddaughter.
Okay.
I don't even know how old she is, but he's pretty kooky, John Voight. And I have Ted Nugent right now, who's sort of my new pastor. He's scouting barely legal women in the South. So he's scouting the 18 to 20-year-olds in the South for a potential new Mrs. Trump. So as we compile throughout the year, as we compile a list, we'll inform you. But right now, I don't want to inform of who we have, but we're gonna have some great talent for sure.
I have a question. Is Kim Kardashian too old for you?
It's not that she's too old. She's actually appropriately aged, but she's what, like 36?
Yeah, I'd say upper 30s, heading towards 40.
Right, but her vagina is 119.
We're going by vaginal years.
Right. You can tell like a tree has the rings. You can tell by the folds. And we examined her, and she is at least 119 in vaginal years. Great song, by the way, by Mike and the Mechanics, The Vaginal Years. It's a deep cut for probably 3 fans.
Probably.
Nominated for a lot of Grammys in the late 80s when I was dominating.
This question comes from a perfect 10 Patreon Patriot, Andrew underscore Danley. Metal. You know metal.
Oh, metal. This guy with the metal.
Mr. President, sir, Esquire. After you testify,
You know what? You know what? If he pulled that during a live chat, I'd correct him and say to put a little more respect on my name. But we'll take it for this purpose.
after you swear yourself under oath to testify at your impeachment trial wearing a plastic crown from Burger King, it would be from McDonald's, okay? Would you give us a preview
Do you see
of
that? Even tech stuff guy is correcting you. Unbelievable.
would you give us a preview of your prepared defense?
You know, this is, you see, Metal thinks he's sort of clever. Okay. And we respect that he's a perfect 10. There's going to be a series of videos, strong videos in the next week or two with strong impeachment content. I'm not giving it away here. I'm not giving away the defense. We're going to surprise, but I will tell you, I plan on, if they call me into the Senate, I will suicide bomb the entire Senate.
You're gonna be the suicide bomber?
Yes, but I'm so thick and strong that I'll survive, and all these other people will collapse because they're so weak.
You're so tough. You'd be the only person to survive a suicide bombing. The vest, your abs are too strong for it.
But I mean, you said it. I don't even have to say it. You just said it.
Mr. President, those some strong from Twitter. Usually Twitter does not give us many good questions. That was a strong presentation from Twitter
Twitter should
today.
really get their act together. Instagram is always a little more with it.
Well, this first question, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's the Marjorie Taylor Greene question.
Well, you know, great question, because we've just announced her as the new evangelical gimp.
You've alluded to this, but
It's called equality, by the way. People didn't think you could have a woman gimp. But when you're strong and you're the queen of QAnon and you have a powerful strap on, you can gimp anybody.
this comes from Turlin underscore doctor. Mr. President, sir, as you've stated, you love to sleep with crazy deranged women. On a scale of 1 to 10, how great would Marjorie Taylor Greene be in bed? Thank you, sir. They want a number. You said she's going to be crazy, but what number 1 to 10?
Okay, I'm going to break this down into 3 categories. Okay.
Okay.
I think she would be, on the pure looks department, she's a 4 out of 10. Maybe even lower for me because I've been with so many beautiful women. But she's an average at best. She's a little weird looking, but she's not the worst. But she's, you know, on the looks, would I much rather be with an Nancy Big Tits Pelosi or an AOC Double D? Yes. But, you know, on just looks, I'm ranking her sort of low.
Okay.
But on an important factor, mental illness, she's off the charts. She's not even a 10. She's like a 13.
Wow.
And that tells, and then the last category is desire to please the president. Also off the charts. So she may be a 4 out of 10 in looks, but when you factor in her 13s for craziness and desire to please, you're now talking, you know what that adds up to? That's a 30 divided by 3 is a 10.
If you ever went through with this based on your assumptions, do you think she could possibly be the best lay that you've ever had?
The best I've ever had.
Based on what you just said.
All right. Well, I think she would have to be in the conversation, which is stunning.
Yeah,
It
it's
almost makes you
crazy.
think, it almost for a second makes you think you shouldn't judge women by appearances alone, which is, of course, the stupidest thing anybody's ever said. Of course, you should judge them by looks. But from my strong presidential analysis, it almost makes you think like you shouldn't judge by looks alone. So I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene is a 10 with an asterisk because, of course, that's not the official rating. That's sort of how in sports they do the advanced metrics.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like an advanced stat. But I would say on the conventional scale, she would be a 7.3.
There are three more questions left. This comes from why settle the number for the letter U? Why didn't you let Tiger King out? Why didn't you pardon Tiger King?
Because at the time, I was still employing big game Mike Pence, and I couldn't have them overlap. I didn't want them docking or crossing streams. So I had to keep, we had to choose one or the other. So sorry, Tiger King, maybe during my next term, I'll let you out.
This comes from some of these names. They should have spaces or something because it's Cecil something. I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to do it. Um, Cecil something with a heme at the end. Um, Mr. President, sir, of all the books written about you, which one do you hate the most? I'm listening to a very stable genius right now. That's what this person says. Which one do you hate the most out of all the books written about you?
Okay, well, I can tell you that Michael Cohen's book was stupid. I read the first Bob Woodward book. The second one is very boring and stupid. The first one was stupid. Um, I read a very stable genius. It was stupid. And I read a few of the other books, but the one that bothered me the most was by my niece, Mary Trump.
Hmm.
Too Much and Never Enough was the title, and that one bothered me the most because she only focused. There was one paragraph in it where she commented that when she showed up in a bathing suit, I looked at her and said, "Whoa, you're stacked." And she only focused in a 211-page book. Her breasts only got mentioned in one paragraph. And I thought, I thought when I looked at the book, I said, at least, no pictures, by the way, no pictures
Of her breasts?
of her breasts, and only one mention of her chest in a bathing suit. And I thought, how do you leave that? How do you leave that? Excuse me, how do you leave all that out? You're writing a book. It's called Too Much and Never Enough. I literally thought it was about her breasts. Instead, it was about me being raised by the great Fred Trump. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is a total false advertising. So no, that the book by my niece was the one I hated the most.
The last question for you today, Mr. President, and if you are a Patreon patriot, you have heard of many Trump traditions. And I was wondering for this first episode of the month of February for Black History Month, if you could all grace us with the answer to this question. This comes from I3XR3X.
Cool name.
Doctor, Mr. President, Sir Esquire. Any snow day traditions you can share from the great Fred Trump?
Okay, well, a very good question. And I think that's a great day. It's a strong, powerful snow in the East Coast. That's what you get when you get Sleepy Joe. We're going to call him Snowy Joe because that's what he brings. Total disaster. Real beauty. Real beauty, that one. Good job, America. But no, we did have a snow day tradition
When you call
because
him Joe Snow, so it's kind of like Jon Snow, but okay, I'm sorry.
uh, I mean, somebody's not coming back for next week's episode. What I would say is we did have a strong tradition. It wasn't annual because obviously you can't predict snow days.
Of course.
So it was like we'd have a snow day probably every year, but it couldn't be like on February 1st, we have a Fred Trump snow day tradition. But I remember my very first snow day, I was 11, and the great Fred Trump said, "You don't have to go to school today. You're coming with me." and we went to, snowing very heavily, but we had a beautiful limousine taking us, and he would drive us to what's the part of Brooklyn Bay? Not Brighton Beach. One of the Russian. What's one of the Russian
Brighton
areas?
Beach,
It's
very
Brighton
Russian.
Beach, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
He would drive us to Brighton Beach, and while it was snowing, he would, because he knew Russians were more used to the snow. They come from an even colder sort of place.
Hmm.
So we'd go to Brighton Beach, and we'd go to a diner where we knew there were some, they had some busty Russian waitresses. And I would say, I'll have pancakes. And they would say, yes, sir. And my dad would order a cup of coffee. And then our waitress would come over. And on this first snow day, she came over and she said, hello, how are you? And my father said, don't talk to us, you filthy trash. And she was upset because she knew we were very rich men. And he was doing what they now call negging. You've heard of that phrase, negging?
Hmm.
He was negging her because he knew she was a scared immigrant,
Right.
and it was a mob run sort of diner. And afterwards he would leave a tip and he would say, oh, come out to the limousine. I'm sorry. We'd like to drive you around town. We're sorry for this. Even though it was all part of a plan, he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I was rude. And she would come outside into the snow, and he would smother her in the snow.
Smother her head like a whitewash.
Right.
Okay.
And then she would die.
So every snow day, on your first snow day, you would have
And
pancakes.
we called that a white Russian. Because I don't drink. A very strong, disciplined Christian.
So when you ordered White Russians in the past, it's really just been a snow day.
Bingo.
Thank you, Mr. President. This has been
Because everybody always, a lot of the stories with the great Fred Trump are, sort of sexual in nature. And I wanted to show the people that it wasn't always about sex. Sometimes it was just about having the power to take a human life. And that's, as a president, I think those lessons were very strong for me.
definitely. Mr. President, thank you so much